it's a recording. Welcome to the Basic Science Podcast, where we freely speak about science, research, and academia. Today, I welcome my first guest to this new adventure, the beautiful Lara. Welcome, Lara.
Thank you, Charles. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very proud to contribute to your project, your adventure.
So, how are you, Lara, today? How do you feel about this adventure?
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I feel it's gonna be a great conversation. You're a very nice person, and you make people feel comfortable around you. So I'm excited and a bit nervous.
So, Lara, can you tell us more about yourself?
About myself, yeah. I am from Brazil. I was born in the countryside in a small town, and I studied a lot in life. And so I did biology as an undergrad. Then I did my master's there, and I decided to come to Canada for my PhD. So here I am. And yeah, I'm a person that enjoys studying, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be doing a PhD. And I also enjoy like friends and doing outside lab activities. So I love my family. I regular person. And yeah.
That's very good, Lara. I guess we will know more about you the further we discuss.
Yeah.
And already I had a question, so it's always the question I have in mind.
Yeah.
Do we go to grad studies because we love studying? What do you think?
I think, well, I can tell for myself. My parents really told me education is important and study is important. So it was the obvious path to go. So natural biology, that comes from me. I liked biology classes, so I went for biology. But yeah, I think it's what we believe as society, that education is important and that's how we're going to succeed in life. So everyone that has the opportunity, they could, they should. I would not say they should, but yeah, usually people goes for university studies. That's how I see it.
That's good. That's good. Where from Brazil do you come from? I'm curious.
Yeah, I was born in a city called Novo Horizonte. It's maybe 35,000 people. So it's for Brazil standards, it's very small. And it's on the countryside of São Paulo. So I think everybody knows São Paulo, the huge city. And then there is São Paulo State, which is like the province. And I'm come from the countryside, so that's where I was born. I have my whole family there. And then I went to a bit bigger, well, no, much bigger city, still in the countryside of São Paulo, which is Ribeirão Preto. And that's like 600,000 people. So that's where I studied, I did my undergrad. So that's where I am from.
Okay. So one question I have is how do you select your undergrad? Is there like a specific system in Brazil? For example, here it's a very different because we have what we call the CGEP. So basically, it's based on the grades you have on the CGEP.
Yeah.
If you have a very high grade, you can become a doctor, a pharmacist, whatever. If you have lower grades, you can select like lower things in science or more humanitarian also programs. So I was curious.
Yeah, in Brazil, it's more like a big test. So we have a national exam. So when you finish high school, usually you take this national exam. And depending on your grade on this exam and depending on the amount of people that run for a position in this university, this course or that one, you can get the position you want. So it's more like one big exam that everybody goes through. It's very stressful. And yeah, most of the public universities adopted this system, this national system. And but there's still some public universities like the one I did that has its own test. So they run it once, maybe twice a year. So you make those tests, and exam is like usually it's a Sunday. It's a big test from 1 to 5, so it's very stressful in the end of the year. And yeah, and you have also private universities, faculties that have their own exam. So yeah, basically you make the test. If you have high grades, you will reach the course that you want and the university that you want. If you have smaller grades, you may go far away or not exactly the course that you would like to do. So
Okay.
that's how it works.
And then I guess you got a very high grade because you like studying.
Yeah, I was a good student, so I cannot say I did a bad job. But I was not running for a very competitive. I was not going to medical school, for example. So biology, it's not, the most competitive one. So it was not one of the most difficult to get in. Uh, I, I was able to achieve it, so I was happy and glad, and I studied a lot for that. But yeah, usually I cannot say it's like the most difficult one. So that's it.
Nice. And so, okay, so you did a biology in undergrad? Is that
Yes,
it?
yes, it's biological science,
Okay.
but yeah, it's biology. So yeah, I did it for 5 years. It was really fun. I really like it. We have our class. It was like 30 to 40 students, and we stay together from beginning to end. So you make a lot of connections. You really have like your own community, and it's really fun. The experience of going through undergrad in a public school in Brazil, it's really amazing. Yeah, it's the sense of community is very high, and you have people from all around the country coming, so you meet people. For me, that I was in a very small city, to go to a big city and know new people and from different parts of the country, it was very rich. I'm very glad to had this experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't know for you, but yeah, university was really amazing.
Yes.
At least undergrad, like I
Yeah.
really loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, even here, it's a bit different, but we still had, let's say, people doing. Let's say I had a person who was in psychology first, then did chemistry, and then did my program in biopharmaceutical sciences. And yeah, it was really nice to see this different people are.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. It's very hard because you have to study a lot, but it's at the same
Yeah.
time you have a lot of fun. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I made good friends there.
Yeah, that's nice.
And so, what motivates you then to continue to grad studies, doing a master's and
Yeah.
then a PhD?
That was quite the natural way to follow because, yeah, at my university, people values a lot the academic path. And at the time, I really wanted to be a professor. So I started an internship in a laboratory in my third year of the undergrad. So I started very, well, in Brazil it's common, but here it's quite early. So I started to work in a lab. I was 19 and I've never stopped. So it was a long journey, but yeah, I did 2 years internship. So I had my the conclusion of the thesis. Is not thesis because thesis is PhD, but yeah, it's the document to finish. It was based on this work at the lab, and I really like it there. So I stayed on that lab for the masters. So yeah, that's how it started. I was working already with cancer related research, and I like it, and I was like, yeah, I will go for it.
Do you have a reason why you selected cancer research specifically amongst many type of research?
Yeah, I think it depends on what's available around you. So it depends on the topics that are studied on the place there that you are doing your undergrad. So actually, when I was a child, I told that when I would grown up, I was going to be I would like to be a botanic, botanicist,
Yeah,
botanic,
a botanist. Yeah,
botanist. Thank you.
yeah.
And so I thought when I went to undergrad in biology, I would go to flowers and plants but then the topics that they studied regarding that in my university was didn't call that much my attention. And at the same time they had a hospital there. And I had a friend that started an internship in this lab, Gabi, and she started on that lab and she really liked it. I was like, okay, maybe I want to try that. So I went and I liked it and I stayed. And that's it. Yeah, it was not like, oh, I want to help people or to cure cancer, or I didn't had. I mean, with time you see that it's nice, it's fulfilling to do that,
Mm.
but at first I was just trying, yeah, and I like it, and yeah.
That's good. Yeah, we could. I don't know if you're comfortable talking about plants, but I really love. I watched this documentary about how plants, propagate their grains,
Yeah.
and it's so like interesting. Like you have, like let's say a tree that has a very massive grain that just fall from the tree and it doesn't move. There's other uh, type of seeds that will
Fly.
fly. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
wow,
super interesting.
it's like
Yeah,
super
I
beautiful.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I think it's so beautiful because if you think about the forest, they are nourishing each other, right? So I think it's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting. Uh, it's something I also really dream to do. Like it's really inspiring to see all those documentaries, where they see the wildlife, how plants grow, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like this kind of documentary
But
too.
yeah, I agree with you that maybe when you see the more practical aspect of the research, let's say cancer research, you really are trying to help the people because cancer is still like a heavy burden for
Society,
humanity,
yeah.
society. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
And so, what did you do in that in
In the
your
lab?
first field? Yeah,
Yeah,
of research.
I worked, that was tough. I worked with glioblastoma. So that's a very bad type of cancer. It's a brain cancer, and the prognostic's really terrible. So I try to not think much about the the disease itself, but understand the pathways, understand like the science behind, because it was very tough to try to connect to the people that had it. So, and I was like 19 years old, so I wouldn't be able to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
So I was testing a new drug. Basically, that was my project. My supervisor received a drug from a lab outside Brazil, and my project was to uh, test the drug, test the response of the cells, of glioblastoma cells. It was pediatric oncology, which makes things even harder. But yeah, I used pediatric glioblastoma cell lines to test if they would respond to that compound. And I did several assays, and I really like cell culture, so that was my project by the time. And it was good. We find good results, and there is a continuation on this project. But yeah, it was really very first steps for this drug. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's what I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I felt like some way we had a connection because for me, at the end of my undergrad, we had the options of many different internships, but I haven't found something in the list that was really calling me to go and try it. And it's funny because we had the internship in either academia or in the industry. And when I did the interview, let's say with the industry people, they say, you're best suited to do work in academia. And when I do the academia interview, they say, you should try an academia, like a industry.
Yeah, that makes things complicated, huh?
And I was like, okay, you know what? I will try to find something that I really enjoyed, and I really enjoyed learning about cancer during my undergrad. And at the last day, I found an internship in pediatric also, and we were studying a drug, but it's more for blood cells.
Okay.
So it's bone marrow transplant.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's really cool. It's called, the field is called pharmacogenomics. So basically, they did a screening of the whole genome of the young kids that were uh, uh, having different blood cancers or blood related diseases.
Yeah.
And treated, so who did the bone marrow treatment plus a drug that is called busulfan, and they tested, and the idea is I was there, and I basically had the data of the genome of the kids.
Yeah.
And their response to the drug. So they try to do correlation. Let's say, you have a mutation in that gene.
I
you're
see.
you're like better suited to that drug, or you're overreacting to that drug. So it was very cool.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have something in common.
Yeah,
We started at the same point.
exactly. And for me, reaching that, to go to the place I was doing my research, you had to go through this corridor where you see kids with cancer, and you see them
Oh,
in
yeah.
beds. And yeah, it
Yeah.
was really
Touching.
touching. Yes.
Yeah.
So then so how did your master go? Did you really enjoyed the experience?
Yeah, I did. So it was kind of in the same lab. I changed the supervisor, but it was still in the pediatric oncology group. So, and I had a lot of support from the previous supervisor, from my we call it scientific initiation in Brazil, the internship during undergrad. So it was basically her project, the project of my previous supervisor. But yeah, it was a matter of bureaucracy that I changed supervisor. But yeah, it was really the same group. And then I moved. So I was at undergrad. So people gave me cells, right? You don't you let the kids play, right? And then during my master's, and I saw that in my lab, the master's and the PhD students, they worked with patient samples. So my goal was, okay, now I did my job with cell lines. I know how to do it. I want the patient samples. I want to grow and to take responsibility, because it's a lot of responsibility, right? And so for my master's, I did that. So I changed a bit subject. I moved it to osteosarcoma, which is like bone cancer, and it's also common in pediatric case. And yeah, the project was to evaluate like microRNAs, which are molecules that all the cells present, and they regulate different pathways. They regulate a lot of things, and depending on sometimes they get deregulated, and they can affect like a broad spectrum of things in the cell, and this can be related to the development of cancer. So my aim was to investigate those microRNAs in some patient samples of osteosarcoma patients. So yeah, that's when I started to deal with ethic committees to have access to the samples, and I took more responsibility over that. I even went to the surgery center to collect them. So we were in contact with the doctors, and we had like uh, turns between the students that we were responsible. Like, for example, for that week, 2 or 3 students were responsible to go to the hospital. It was in campus, but we had to go to dress like everything for the surgery, go there, take the 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 tumor sample that was being extracted during the surgery and bring it back to the lab. So I did that, and it was very nice. I kept the project with cells because then once you know what is deregulated in the human samples, you want to test how the depletion, or if you increase those specific microRNAs that you see that's deregulated on the cell line model, if they're gonna change the response, right? If the cells will continue proliferating, or if you will reduce it. So we wanted to investigate. So that was the second part of my project. And yeah, that's what I did for the master's. And it was cool. And that's when I started to learn about metastasis, because in osteosarcoma it's very common that you have like the primary tumor. It's usually in one site, but usually in osteosarcoma the cells move around the body and implement in a secondary site, and that's what's called metastasis. And I got super interested in the process, and that's what motivated me to find a PhD kind of in this topic. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I guess you found a lab working on metastasis.
Yeah.
Do you have different options, or Montreal was your kind of first choice?
Yes and no. I was looking for a PhD abroad, and I was looking for a country that speaks English, because to move abroad would be already very complicated, very demanding. So I didn't want to go, I don't know, to German. And I heard about IRIC through my program, and I saw, okay, it's Canada. I am able to do my program in English, and I can still learn French because it's Quebec. So I think that's a good option. And then I subscribed for the recruitment event. I came here, I made the interviews, and that's where I met Greg, my supervisor. And yeah, we decided to come. And yeah, my partner came with me. He also, we were lucky enough that he contacted Lee, and he also, we came together, and we were very happy with our choice, and it was the same place, so it was very perfect.
Perfect, perfect. And how was your experience so far in Montreal, Canada? Do you enjoy the country,
Yeah.
the cold, maybe the snow?
Yeah, I like Canada. It's people here are very traumatized by the snow, but from a Brazilian perspective, it's fun. It's something very different, right? So you go out, it's just beautiful. The snow is beautiful, and yeah, you don't like when it's -20. Nobody likes, but the city is ready for that. I mean, you don't get cold. And I think the structure here is very amazing. The public transport and everything is easy, and yeah, I really love the country, and yeah, and people are very nice and respectful, and it's a safe country. So yeah, it has been a very good experience. Yeah.
I guess also I guess Montreal is very rich with communities, so I guess there was also already Brazilian people
Communities,
there,
yeah.
so you feel like kind of at home. No, I don't
I don't get so engaged with Brazilian community. I know a lot of Brazilians, and I think that's enough for me. I have my friends, I love them, and they are part of my life. But yeah, it's true that I don't get engaged in very Brazilian community without like knowing really the people. And it's good that people do it because it's hard, and sometimes moving countries is very demanding, and find a company, find people from your own, it's uh, it's very supportive, right? So it's good that people does it. I was okay at IRIC at our institute, and I had my partner with me, so I think I was good. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And how is it for you, the PhD experience so far? Do you have the same emotions and feelings you had as a master's? Or no?
Too naive.
Too naive.
Yeah, no. The PhD is hard. It's very demanding, and but it's nice. I am in a really good lab. I feel very welcome. I have a very good PI, principal investigator, right? My supervisor. He's really a kind person, and it was a good experience. I would say that during my PhD, I had more troubles in my personal life than in the PhD itself, which is not the rule. And I found it a very supportive environment, which is not very common, and I'm very grateful for. And regarding science, it's so different. During my master's, and I think in Brazil overall, we do science as we can because the financial, it's not, it's I cannot compare to what we have in Canada, and that's okay. So we try our best. We're very creative, and but yeah, we struggle a lot to get materials because everything is in dollar, and dollar is so expensive for us. So we do the best as we can. But for example, when you start a project, you already know all the experiments you're gonna do because there is a very limited budget.
Yeah.
So that's it. There's no room for exploration around. While here, I arrive and my supervisor told me, there is this drug, there is the cells, maybe there is a phenotype, go for it. And I was like, okay. It was good because we know I had, some people don't have even that. So I had something that was working and I needed to understand why and how, and I had support for that. It was really, really good, but that's very different from what I was expecting and from what I had before as experience in Brazilian research, right? It was not like a setted project that I have the experiments that I need to do. It's I will learn this, and that, and I will do this, and that. I plan, I do, it's done. Here it's like one question, bring to the other, bring to the other. You adapt the experiments and you really think and build the project on the go. So it's really good, and I learn so much, and I enjoy, and yeah, it was a very good experience and a very good idea to come.
Yeah, something I want to touch on. I feel as PhD student, we underestimate this value. We have to create something that will work on the go. It's like I feel like once you enter, let's say the normal job network, the problems are easier to solve than what we do in a PhD. In a PhD, we try to bang our heads against the wall against impossible questions.
Yes.
So, how do you feel about this? Do you feel that you are still like? Would you feel confident? If you, I don't know if you want to continue in academia or just find something in the industry that you would be. It would be easier for you to be in the industry.
I think so. I think, well, we solve problems, right? Every day. So we look for problems and we try to solve them. So we basically create our own problems. We check if they make sense to be created, and we come up with possible solutions, and we come up with ways to test all the possible solutions. So yeah, we are building the whole cycle. I feel like that gives you so much experience, and of course we are talking it in a scientific way, but there's a lot of things that you can transpose, right, for other aspects. And I think that makes us prepared. I am not the most confident person, so I would not feel like telling you, yeah, I feel ready for everything. That's not true. I feel very naive, and I feel that I still have so much to learn. And if I change to industry, I feel like I know nothing, and that I will have to have training, and I will have to, well, I will struggle at the beginning like everyone else, and I will find my way. But yeah, in theory, we are ready to face a lot of different problems and try to come up with solutions. So it should be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
And yeah, I will ask this clarifying questions of what's next for you, because you're almost at the end.
Yes.
So do you feel, do you still have the energy to carry an academic career, or do you wanna try something different, make a change? How
Yeah.
do you feel about that?
Yeah. So right now, yeah, I'm very at the very end of my PhD. I'm writing the thesis. I'm finishing experiments, and maybe take a couple more months, and I will have my defense. And yeah, what's next? So that's the big question that I have in my mind for a year now, maybe more. And I think I would like to try something else. I've been doing research, bench research, working in cell culture, working in experiments. I'm 30, and since I was 19, I've never stopped cell culture. So it's been like 10 years more. And I think it's time for me to have new challenge, let's say. At the same time, you get bored, you get tired, and you want to keep motivation, right? So if I have to go for a postdoc, I would think about a postdoc that may help me grow in other ways than learning new experiments. And but I think I would like to try a job outside academia
Mhm.
just to test. I like I feel like I'm good at presentations. So I would like to try and something related to more communication. To I like to think I want a job where I can be a bridge between different professionals. I can use my academic background to translate information, to communicate, and to make a bridge between different people. So I'm trying to find something like that. I don't know if it's gonna come. And yeah, that's my goal. Let's see. Let's see what
Yeah.
life brings to me.
That's very cool, Lara. Speaking of which, you have some you have something cool of your own outside of your academic profile. So do you wanna discuss that?
Yes. I paint, I do crochet, I do knitting, I do embroidery. I'm a grandma. So, and I'm really excited about that because all those things came to my life in a very difficult moment during my PhD because of a health problem. And I am 100% sure that because of those things, I got much better. So it really helped me in my healing process. And yeah, so I protect that like crazy. And even if I'm self criticizing, I should do more, I should work harder, I should be more at the lab, because I think all of us think that we are pushing ourselves so much. I'm like, no, I need my art because if I don't do my art, I cannot hold myself in a good mental health, in a good mental state, and I will not be able to do my work properly. So I'm learning to find the balance. And yeah, so I really think it's so important to have something outside the lab. and something, yeah, that fulfills our heart and give us the energy that sometimes we need to spend in the lab. So we need to have like a fontaine, and that's my fontaine.
That's good.
Yeah.
Have you considered maybe switching to become an art therapist? Does that
I did. I consider a lot. I cannot because I would have to do an undergrad in something related to social work or psychology or more like humanity, and I'm biologist. So I would have to start over, all over. I cannot just make, from what I read, maybe I'm wrong, but from what I research, I cannot just do like a 1 or 2 years specialization on that. But I did consider that. And yeah, it would be something very fun. And yeah, let's see, maybe in the long term future, I can get engaged more and more. But officially, I can't.
it's really surprising because I know a lot of people who, uh, let's say, started with art. I don't remember the name of the lady, but she was very good at drawing anatomy, and she became a doctor after that. It's strange that there's no opposite, like people from the science having something like that to switch, because for me science is some kind of art as well. Maybe
Yeah.
you can agree with that because you do a lot of microscopy.
Yes, I do. I love microscopy and I love see beautiful things at the microscope. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should talk more to people instead of reading on internet like what is required for the course, and see if there are ways to get out of the bureaucracy and still make it. But yeah, I think right now I'm back to the science and officially, and keeping the art on the side. And the way, of course, the way I find to really insert this artistic and creative part in the lab itself, it's with the microscope. I just love to be there and to see the cells, and it's so beautiful. And even if we are like alone in the dark room for hours and hours, really with the big screen on one side, the microscope on the other side, and no one else and nothing else. So when you look at the microscope, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
So I think that fulfills my creative side also. Yeah.
that's very cool. Yeah, I really found. I don't know if I can call myself an artist, but yeah, I used to like drawing a lot,
That's good.
and then because didn't have time too much during my PhD, I started to take pictures instead. It's easier. It's like one click, you have your
Yeah.
drawing.
Well, not that easy. There's
Yeah.
a lot of tricks with photography also. So I think you can call yourself an artist too. I think, I, I don't know. I think I like to think about artist in the broad sense. It's more like you feel like an artist. You don't not necessarily have the formation in art. Maybe people with the formation in art will be mad at me, but that's how I feel it. I think it's a state of being.
Something I never actually explored is painting. Well, until recently, I just painted the walls around the studio. You can see the beautiful black wall behind Lara, but it's just like a one color.
It's still
It's
a
like
big job.
it's a big job, yeah. But I found it really therapeutic in some way. I had a very anxious time at that time, and this really came at the perfect timing,
Yeah,
and it really helped me
yeah,
in some sort of way
that's
to
it.
just paint a wall. It was good.
Yeah, I think uh, when I had my health problem, I felt like I lose control over my life. And then I couldn't read, I couldn't do anything by the time because of this problem. And I start to paint, and I start to paint watercolor. So watercolor is very interesting because you have the water and you have the pigments, and you don't have much control where the water goes. You put on the paper and you can try to control, but you have like a bunch of water, and you put the pigment and it's gonna spread, and you have very few control over that. But at the end, when it dries, it's so beautiful. And then you start to realize that you don't need always to have control over everything and to have anxiety because you don't control everything, because things can be beautiful out of the control, you know? So I think that really helped me to see life with different eyes, with less pressure, being less anxious about everything that was going on, because somehow it would find their way, and it could be beautiful. So yeah, that's and I think a lot of times when you do art, you do repetitive work like you did with the paintings. I'm sure you were just pathing the ink and it's not enough, and then you go and you do it again. It's several times, maybe several days that you spend doing that, and you're just there, present, doing it, and not overthinking about so many things. So the repetitive way puts us also like in a state of flow and presence and awareness. So it helps to calm down, and yeah, I think it's really nice. It's really a way out of the trouble.
Yeah, you mentioned something really powerful, Lara, about control and anxiety. I think people really try to have control of everything, but unfortunately, a few things we cannot really control. And
A lot of things.
yeah,
We have this understanding that we are in control of our lives, and it's a sense that gives us security to make us feel safe. But when you really stop and think about that, that's not really true. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you think about that all the time, you're going to live your life in a crisis of existence because you have control over nothing. So it's like a balance to deal with your daily tasks and your keep going in life. But yeah, when something bad happens, you feel like you lose this control, and it never really existed. It's just something you created to make you feel safe and keep going. But yeah, you need to find a balance to not be too obsessed about it, because it can cause a lot of anxiety, I can tell you.
yeah. Something I am learning to do this year is to not, make a big story out of it. It's like, if you want it to become a big story, it will happen. But if you just let it go, and it will pass, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the next that until the next,
Yeah.
one.
The things will be as big as the amount of attention you put on it.
Yes, exactly,
That's it.
exactly. And so, um, have you do? What do you do currently with your art? Do you like sell it? Do you showcase it? What's do you foresee a future for this side of your life?
Yeah. That's very fun, exciting, and at the same time, I'm like, should I be doing that for real? So right now, so I had a really long phase of recovery, and I used art 100% for myself and to go through it. And that was like more than a year. So I was not worried on improving techniques, on learning new skills to draw. I was just doing whatever I feel good about. And yeah, that was very powerful because it gave me confidence. I could do things by myself. Because as students in academia, we go from we need to learn. We have nothing and we receive, and then we can grow. With that, with art can be the same. You don't know, then you receive, and you study, and you put effort, and you do it, and then you grow. But I went from a place where I couldn't learn, I couldn't receive anything. I could just do what I had at the time. And I saw progress on it. Even if I didn't have inputs, I saw that I could grow by my own outputs. So that was really powerful, and I was so happy that even if it was not so beautiful, I could still do it, and that was very mine. So it was a way to grow, and for a long time I avoided looking tutorials, looking for classes, and I'd really go with my own at my own pace. But then I started to get better from my health and my brain, and then I started, okay, maybe I want to have lessons, maybe I want to actually have inputs to improve. So that's when I did like 1 month and a half classes with a watercolor professional, and she was really nice. She's Brazilian,
Nice.
so yeah, she was very kind. She shared a lot with us. It was like a very small group, very friendly. It was not something very official, and yeah, that's how I started to, okay, maybe I can, now I know the kind of good materials, and I wanted to buy the good materials. And okay, now I want to do another course, and then you start to invest. And then I was like, maybe I could. And at the same time, my friends, which are amazing, were telling me, this is beautiful. You should, I want one, and you should try to sell them. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can try to get some money and invest some money on that. So basically, right now, I still paint a lot for myself, but I'm also trying to get commissions here and there. It's not really something official, it's mostly my amazing friends helping me out and incentivizing me. So I do some pieces for friends, and they are very generous and they pay me. So that's how it's going. And then I have more money to buy more materials, and that's it. So 2 weeks ago, I did my first market. So it was a pop-up market of local business, and I had the money to pay for the day from my art. So I was, okay, this is self-sustained, so that's cool. And then, yeah, a lot of my friends went. I shared my table with another friend from our institute, Anais, and she also does very beautiful beading work, and she was selling her products too. So I think that two of us invited like half of the institute, and a lot of people came, and it was very supportive. It was a very fun day. It was the first time. I'm not sure I'm gonna do it again, because yeah, it was, yeah, my sellings was basically for my friends again. So yeah, that's how it is now. So in the future, I don't know. I think I need to learn a lot. I need to work, not learn technique, but learn about myself and how do I want this art to look like, and to develop my style, my yeah, I want to grow on that. And I don't want to put a deadline. I don't want to put like, oh yeah, in 2 years I want to be at this stage and do this kind of business. No, I want to take the time it takes. And that's like, I think, a parallel lifetime project that I want to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool, and for sure see you doing that, because I guess the best way to grow is to take action, and the more you do drawing, the more you will find yourself and your style. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I try.
Um, I don't know if you would like to come back to the concussion you had during your PhD and how this affected you more personally, and maybe on the PhD itself. How this how did it go?
Yeah, we can go back to this. I think I can speak about it without crying now. So that's a good timing. So it was 2020, the big year for everyone with pandemic and everything. And I just felt it was something very stupid. I faint and I felt at home and I hit my head on the floor. I think I hit my head twice while I was fainting. And yeah, I would not go into the details of the day and whatever, but I had a concussion. So basically, the concussion, it's when the brain shakes inside your head, and it has like an impact, like front, back, or side, whatever, and that inflammates the brain. That creates like a lot of stress in your cells, and that will activate plenty of cascades and signaling that shouldn't be, and everything is shaken, and mechanical impact implies in biochemistry impact. And that gave me a lot of troubles. Usually people recover from concussion. It really depends on the context, and it really depends on the person. It's something that it's very personal, related to your own health and your own psychological state and a lot of things. Usually it takes like, I went to the hospital and the doctor told me, oh yeah, take it slow, 2-3 weeks, and go back slowly and everything will be okay. That's what I did. And after 3 weeks, I was not okay at all. So by the time I had headaches every day, like huge migraines, I was not sleeping well. I had a lot of pain in my neck in all this area. And I had nausea and sensitivity to noise, to light, to everything. So I couldn't check phone, I couldn't check screens, I couldn't walk on the streets because I get nauseated with the cars passing by me. And it was a completely mess. I was speaking very slowly because I think the time to process information in my brain was delayed. So I was very slow motion. And yeah, it didn't took 3 weeks. After 3 months, I was still not good. And I go back to the doctor, and they said, I went back to the doctor a couple of times during this time, but there's not much they can do. You need to wait, recover. At some point, I crossed I reached a threshold that I could deal with that by myself. And I went for help, and they forwarded me to a specialized institute. And there I started to have more supportive help, but that was during pandemic. So all my situation was online. All my treatment was online, so it was adapted to what I could do by myself at home. So it was a really struggle. And that's when I started therapy, like psychological therapy, also with someone from Brazil, because yeah, I wanted my mother tongue, my native language to talk. And yeah, that was very tough because I was not able to do anything. And as I said, for my entire life, I was a good student, and I was a very brain person. And you associate yourself as someone, you identify yourself as someone that is good at studying, that you are intelligent, that's how you build your personality. Like, okay, I'm doing the PhD, I need to do that, I need to solve this problem, and I recognize myself as someone thinking, right? And then my brain was out. So I had like a crisis because I couldn't find myself anymore. I don't know who I would be if I wasn't able to go back to normal. And when you hurt your brain, nobody would tell you, "Oh yeah, you're gonna recover in 3 months," because we don't know. So it was such a struggle for me, all this, and that's when my anxiety skyrocketed. And that's not good for the concussion because it's like a lot of stress on your brain that needs to rest and recover. So it was just a bad explosive combination, and I just crashed in all the sense. I had my partner that was amazing. He took care of me in different sense. I had help from very good professionals. I still have help from them, and it took me maybe 2 years to be back to my normal life. And I think it took me maybe 2 years and a half to be confident I was back to my normal life. So it was very bad impact in all the ways. I wanted to go back to the lab. I wanted to live my life again, and I just couldn't. And I didn't know if I would ever recover, and that was very stressful for me. And I'm really glad that this has passed. And yeah, so basically I did physio, osteopath. I went to athlete therapies because usually people that practice sports that has this kind of problems and accidents, right? And yeah, it took a long time, usually more than usual. But yeah, I'm very happy it's over. And yeah, I used the art as for sure part of my treatment to heal and to find myself again and to build strength again and confidence again and go back to normal life. Yeah.
It's very interesting because you said you were a brain person, but for art, I don't think we necessarily need the brain. So maybe you discovered another face
That's it.
of yourself
That's it.
using art, yeah, because we use more the emotion
Yeah,
in art.
that's it. And I start to value that, and I expand my bases. You know, yeah, I think when we have, it's like, it's like the chair. You need at least 3 pillars to keep it standing. So if you put yourself just in one pillar, that's too
Yeah.
not enough. So you need to put yourself several pillars. So it's good to expand your frontiers and of who you are and all the resource that you have. So when something like that happen, you don't crash.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, the brain is such a fascinating realm by itself. I feel that there's a fine line between madness and having a common sense, and there's people that have what we call savantism. So basically, they are more toward the madness side, where they use more of their brain, part of their brain, and it's really amazing the things they could do. Like for example, you can ask them to multiply this by this, and it's like a fast calculator. Someone can just take a helicopter ride of let's say Montreal and draw a nice sketch of the city
Well,
with precision. So it's like, yeah,
yeah, the human brain is really amazing, and we cannot underestimate the power of it, and we don't understand it enough for sure. So yeah.
so I I don't know if you try to make sense or connection with all elements that you go through life. Is it something you do or something?
I don't know. Connections through the elements. I think we go. I think things come to us when we need them, bad or good, and we deal with them. And sometimes it's very harsh. This was very hard. The concussion was very harsh to me, and I would not say, oh yeah, I needed, and I that was, but it was a way I grow so much in other parts of my life, right? So yeah, I think it's more about being flexible to what it comes and maybe not overthink too much.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if that answer your question though.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like it's something also I try to prone is that you will we through life we go through different experiences. It's up to us to decide if it's a bad one or a good one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well, at the end, an experience you have a result. So it's up to you to take what's important from that experience you lived
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this experience for me made me a much more empathic person to other people that went through problems too,
Hmm.
and made me develop myself this whole another side of me that was forgotten somewhere in the past of being a child that likes to draw, you know. So yeah, I cannot complain.
Oh, speaking of this, I always try this exercise. I'll try to ask you the question: if you have yourself as a child now facing you, and that child is asking you, "Are you proud?" or you ask the child, "Are you proud of me?" Would how would the child answer? You think?
I think it this kid would tell me I'm more proud of you now than before 2020 because I was so focused on the science, on the profession, on the hard work, and I forgot myself. And with all the trouble that I went through, I had to recover myself to be able to continue the work, but myself first. And I think I fulfill the needs of this child much more now, and I have fun and I enjoy life and I do what I want. And yeah, I think this kid would be very happy with me now.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Good answer. Do you have anything else you wanted to add, Lara, to this discussion? Oh, maybe something we can discuss is about the pandemic. How did you feel through the pandemic as a person, as a scientist?
Yeah, it was very hard because I was not completely in my best shape. I was
Yeah.
having my own struggles
Yeah.
on the top of pandemic, so it was for sure more stress for me to deal with. And I think the worst part of pandemic was to be far from my family because I was worried for me, for my friends here, but I was worried for my family there, and there was absolutely nothing I could do at the time, not even going there because everything was closed. So, yeah, the pandemic was very harsh, and I think it hit people very differently depending on where you are in life. And yeah, I think scientifically I was very proud that we could develop something to help soon. It was soon. It looks longer, but it was not so long that we developed the vaccine. We as human beings, not that I am real part of it,
Yeah.
But I think as a scientist, that was amazing to see the amount of effort that all the scientific community put on that and how much research we could do on that in so few time. I think that was very inspiring. At the same time, as society, I think we had a huge crisis, a huge information crisis, and that turns things so difficult. And we saw the priorities of people are very different and sometimes very conflictant. And I think we miss so much as society to evolve how to deal with our own big problems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe in a way life gave you this concussion to really focus on yourself because
The word was hard.
the pandemic was a really a big mess. I don't know. Maybe I had too many migraines
Yeah.
seeing the news
Yes.
at that time.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it was tough for everyone, and it was
Yeah.
very crazy. And yeah,
Yeah.
I hope that we learned from that too. Let's see. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Let's see. I hope so too.
Mm.
Yeah, like you said, it's really amazing the way how fast we developed the vaccine, but also maybe if the audience that are listening to us at that point, just to remind them that there was many years of research
Oh
to come to
yes,
this vaccine.
yes. It didn't came from nowhere.
Exactly, like people think it came from nowhere and the virus came from nowhere. It's like
No. That's not what I meant. And I'm happy you did this comment because yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to highlight that it was I think it was a lady from Holland that developed the mRNA.
Vaccines.
Not the. So there's two teams. There's one in British Columbia that developed the kind of envelope of the mRNA, so it go targeted to the specific organs of the body. But the lady in Holland developed that is got combined with Moderna, developed the hybrid mRNA variants because mRNA, the dogma is that mRNAs are easily degradable, so you cannot really study mRNAs. And this is what's fascinating is that mRNAs were used as a drug for the pandemic, for the COVID pandemic.
Yeah. I think we reach a point where we have research for so long, so many things, that when we have a crisis like that, we have a strong, not saying it's enough, but strong to be quick, to action. So, and that should improve with time because we learn more and more and more, and the more we learn, the fast we can move. So, I think, it's not that came from nowhere, but there's been research doing for so long now, and we know a lot that allows us to move quickly through big problems. Quickly, this is relative, but yeah.
How do you foresee science in the future? What's you think the biggest milestone we will achieve?
That's a big question. I don't know. I really don't know, but yeah, something that is I'm thinking about a lot, and I don't know if I'm wrong or right on that. I never discussed that with anyone, but it's like the way we use the strategy we use now to learn something. For example, in the how protein works, or you take like for example the cell. Not we don't have just this strategy, but I think that's a very common strategy. We took whatever system and let's say a puzzle, and then we remove that specific piece of the puzzle, of the machinery, or of whatever, and we see what happened. We watch what's happening, or we put too much of that piece and see what happened. That's kind of one of the strategies that we commonly use in science to discover the role, because if that piece is missing, that will have consequence, and we will observe the consequence, and then if we put it back, we'll see what changed, and right? Maybe that's not the right way to do it. Because yes, we'll get information, but if you remove a piece of ever adapting machine, that's what we life systems are, they will figure out other ways to make it work. So we are learning, yes, about what is the main function, but maybe we are promoting other things that are not really the real state of it, and we are inducing a lot of bias on that, and our knowledge may be biased too.
Yeah.
So I think in the long term, that's the best we can do right now. And I'm not criticizing that. But in the long term future, I think we should think about strategies of not having to modify the system to learn about the system. That's something I have been thinking about. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. Totally, it makes sense. The way you describe it is, I really love this biology teacher that I had as an undergrad, who always says the cell will be more intelligent than the human. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I agree with you that probably studying the system in a more native kind of state to understand how it function is really important.
Yeah.
And this is like, to come back maybe to the cancer biology, sometimes is like missing, but now it's slowly getting back, is you study like a cancer cell line, but you also should have a wild type cell line, just to see if it's not just a feature of something that is already happening
Yeah.
naturally, and it's not like a feature that the cancer developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always select the good controls.
Yes, controls in science is
Something very important.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you want to add more to the discussion, Lara?
Maybe I can tell PhD students that push themselves very hard, that maybe if you push too hard, it's not good also. So take the time you need to learn. Don't forget to nourish your soul and to do things that you like and fulfills, because you need the energy to do the PhD, and it needs to come from some place, and you need to find this place and enjoy it. And yeah, I think I would say that, not for PhD students, but everyone that every kind of job that you need to put yourself a lot, you need to find a fontaine. So find your fontaine.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty about that.
Thank you for that beautiful message, Lara.
Thank you. No, thank you for assembling all of that. And I'm very happy for you, really.
Thank
And
you.
I think you are doing a really good job and giving the opportunity for us to speak and to listen and to promote all of that, really.
Yeah. Nice.